Good morning everyone. How are you all today? This is Ashar Khan from Shiv Jyoti Educational Group Kota, and I welcome you back to our video lectures class. Students, up until now we have revised. So now let's discuss chapter number 2, which is globe, latitudes and longitudes. Let's begin. First, let's discuss the points to remember. Now students, you should know that globe is a miniature model of the earth. You already know this, that what is the globe? It is the miniature model of the earth. Supposedly, I'll show you here. Now see here, this is a model of our earth which is called the globe. Okay, it is a miniature model of the earth. As you can see, the globe is tilted. Why so? Because our earth is also tilted. This is called axis. Okay, what is this called? It's the axis, and at what angle it is tilted? 23.5 degree. Okay, then also there is an imaginary line here. It's called equator. You already know this, that our earth is divided by an imaginary line which is called the equator. And what does the equator do? It divides the earth into two hemispheres. The first one is called the northern hemisphere, right? Northern. And the one below the equator is called the southern hemisphere. Okay students, so we have an axis with an angle of 23.5 degree. Then the line which divides earth into two equal parts, northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, which is called the equator. Okay, moving on. Now students, let us discuss what are latitudes and longitudes. One latitude you already know, which is the equator, right? Which is 0 degree, right? Now there are 90 latitudes which run parallel to the equator in the northern hemisphere and 90 latitudes which run parallel to the equator in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so what are latitudes? Latitudes are the line which run parallel to the equator, as you can see here. We will further discuss important latitudes as well in this chapter. Okay, so these are the latitudes. They are parallel to the equator. Okay, now what are longitudes? See here. Longitudes are drawn from North Pole to South Pole. It connects the two poles, the northern pole to the southern pole. Okay. Now, 0 degree longitude is called the prime meridian. 0 degree latitude is called equator and 0 degree longitude is called prime meridian. It passes through Greenwich. Okay students. Moving on. Let's mark the internal questions of this chapter. First internal question is, what is an equator? On page number 10, write this question, what is an equator? Okay, then I'll help you mark the answer as well. You already know, we just discussed this, what is an equator? An equator is an imaginary line running on the globe which divides it into two equal parts. Okay, imaginary line running on the globe divides it into two equal parts. This line is known as the equator. Okay, you will mark this in paragraph 5 on page number 10. So, count the paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and fifth paragraph, the first line, it says another imaginary. Okay, so cut another and write an. Okay, an imaginary line running on the globe divides it into two equal parts. This line is known as the equator. Mark this answer carefully. Okay. Moving on to internal question number 2. Name the place where the British Royal Observatory is located. Write the question on page number 13. Where is the British Royal Observatory located? Okay. Write the answer there only. Greenwich. I know you have been pronouncing it Greenwich for so long, but the correct pronunciation of this word is Greenwich. Okay. Remember that. Write the answer. Now, let us discuss the copywork of second chapter. First question, what is a globe? You know that a globe is an exact miniature model of the earth, means just like our earth except in small size. It shows the earth in its actual shape with all continents, ocean, etc. marked at their proper places. So the globe shows all the continents, oceans, okay, at their proper places. Now, what is the true shape of the earth? You also asked this to me in doubt class as well, right? What is the true shape of the earth? See, the earth is slightly flattened at the north and the south poles. Okay, our earth is slightly flattened at the north and south pole and bulging in the middle. Middle means equator. Okay, so our Earth is slightly flattened at the north and south pole, and it is bulging in the middle. It is a little bit bulged in the middle around the equator part. Okay. Now, what is the latitudinal value of the Tropic of Cancer? Tropic of Cancer is another latitude we have. What is the value? It is the latitudinal value of the Tropic of Cancer is 23.5 degree north of the equator. Okay, from the equator you will go north 23.5 degree. Which latitude will you find? Tropic of Cancer. I'll explain this again at the end of this copy work. Now, what are parallels of latitude and meridians of longitudes? Basically, latitudes and longitudes. And imaginary parallel circles from the equator up to the poles are called parallel of latitudes. What are latitudes? Imaginary parallel circles which run from the equator up to the poles. And longitudes, lines of reference running from the north pole to south pole, which run from north pole to south pole, right? They are called the meridians of longitude. Okay, so lines which are parallel to the equator, they are called latitudes, and lines which are running from north pole to south pole are called longitudes or meridians of longitudes. Now, next question, why is it necessary to have a standard time for a country? See, the local time of places which are on different meridians are bound to differ. Now, a lot of longitudes pass through India as well, right? There are lots of longitudes, but we follow IST, which is Indian Standard Time. So it is asking that why do we have a standard time for a country? Why not different places have different times? See, it is necessary to adopt the local time of some central median of a country as the standard time for the country. If we follow different time in the same country as well, it will get very confusing. That is why, for example, in India, the longitude of 82.5 degree, that is 82 degrees and 30 minutes east, is treated as the standard meridian. Okay, so we calculate our time using 82.5 degree east longitude. Okay, which is 5 hours 30 minutes ahead of the Greenwich Mean Time, Greenwich Mean Time. Now, why does the torrid zone receives maximum amount of heat? Torrid zone lies between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Where will you find torrid zone? Between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. The midday sun is exactly overhead at least once a year on all latitudes in this area. That means that most of the sun, most of the heat of the sun, it falls in which zone? Torrid zone. Therefore, torrid zone receives maximum amount of heat. Okay, the sun is always shining vertically on this zone. That is why the area of the zone, torrid zone, is very hot. The areas around the equator are very hot. Why is it 5:30 p.m. in India and 12 noon in London? Okay, a very good question. See, London is situated at 0 degree longitude, that is Greenwich Mean Time, GMT. Okay, London, okay, on which longitude London is? On 0 degree. Now, India is located east of Greenwich at 82 degree 30 minutes east, which is 5 hours and 30 minutes ahead of GMT. Means whatever time is at the London, we are 5 hours and 30 minutes ahead of that time. So, if I tell you the time of London, what you will do to tell me the time of India? You will just add 5 hours and 30 minutes and you will get the time of India. So, when it is 5:30 p.m. in India, how much time it will be in London? 12 noon. Okay. Now, name and explain in brief about the 3 heat zones of the Earth. Now, we have to tell about the 3 heat zones of the Earth. So, let us see. First, the torrid zone. Torrid means hot. What does torrid mean? It means hot. It lies between the equator and the 2 tropics. It receives direct rays of the sun and experiences high temperature throughout the year. So, the areas around the equator, okay, they experience direct rays of the sun throughout the year, and that is why they have high temperature. They are also called tropical zone. Okay. Then temperate zone. Temperate means moderate, means neither too hot nor too cold. Okay. This zone lies between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle in the northern hemisphere, and the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere. I will explain this in a diagram as well. Okay, wait. Next, we have frigid zone. Frigid means cold. See, torrid means hot. So, it will be very easy for you to remember. Torrid, hot. Temperate, moderate. And frigid, cold. This will tell you which zone is hottest, moderate temperature and cold temperature. Okay. The areas between the Arctic Circle and North Pole and Antarctic Circle and South Pole are the two frigid zones. So the areas between the Arctic and the North Pole and the Antarctic and the South Pole are the frigid zone. Now let us see in the diagram as well. Okay. So here we have the equator, correct? Now around the equator we learned that which zone lies around the equator? It is the torrid zone, where the sun rays fall directly. That means this area which you will see here in green color, it is the hottest area of the earth. Okay. Then in the northern hemisphere, above torrid zone, Tropic of Cancer and Arctic Circle, this is the north temperate zone. In the southern hemisphere, below Tropic of Cancer and above Antarctic Circle, you have south temperate zones. Temperate means moderate. I just explained it to you. That means these two areas will have moderate temperature. These two areas are neither too hot nor too cold. Now we come to the frigid zone. Frigid zone, Arctic Circle and North Pole, Antarctic Circle and South Pole. Now these areas are frigid. Frigid means cold. They are coldest areas of Earth. So now you know the areas around the equator are the hottest. Then as we go farther from the equator, जितना हम equator से दूर जाएंगे, that means the cold will increase and the heat will decrease. Okay. So these two temperate zones, they will have moderate climate, and the frigid zones will have the coldest climate. I hope you all learnt well by this diagram, students. Thank you so much for watching. We'll meet again in our next lectures.